So I was going to ask you how, in your view, Hunter Long is playing like the camp he's had so far.
Hunter is a player that we had on our radar when I was on another team. He's a young player that it fits what we do. So been very excited with him. He's this whole process, especially for tight ends, um, is difficult because of the scheme we run, and in conjunction the scheme we run on both sides of the ball. So uh, the tight end position in general is is a work in progress because we're undoing a bunch of technique that they've been used to their whole football lives. Hunter specifically started out really strong. He grasped all of it super fast, and it's to the credit of the mind that he has and his investment. And now he's going through the second stage, which is honing skills, honing technique, and he's attacking each and every day. And I know he gives the defense their own issues uh, each day with how he competes and how he attacks the process.
If I can follow up on what you're saying, so you have to undo technique that they've learned previously and learn new technique.
Yeah, it's more like so. There's a like from a starting point. Typically, tight ends. You're coached, and it's not bad or good. It's just a commitment to. But typically, they're coached to not get beat, as opposed to attacking and having help where they with known help. So you have to, for us, where a lot of it starts with like running off the ball, like we're not playing it safe at that position. You talk about a nine technique, especially in this league, whether that's a stand-up backer or a defensive end, and that can be an imposing situation that you want to make sure that your guy doesn't immediately tackle somebody. So you play inside, and you have some board footwork that you're kind of plotting off the ball, and you don't displace as much. We don't do that. We say we're going to go after the guy. Here on these plays, you will have help. Here you won't. And it's really a completely different mindset. It's almost like every time he blocks, he's running a route. You're coming off the ball with that same mindset. So it is an adjustment that I think it does take people, especially ones like Hunter, who've really been deliberate in how they've gone about their business their whole lives. It takes them a second. It's very similar to the adjustment that the line has to make. There's just more space between them and the defender.
Your running, your running back room, have you guys have a vision of how you may want to split touches?
Um, Now, I really, for me to sit here and say every practice is important, for every rep's important, and it's a constant competition. The only way that I can really follow through with those words is I have to consciously, which I do, consciously refrain from doing that because I don't want to limit an opportunity by having a preconceived notion. There's guys that are doing that that really got our running scheme, really got it early. Maybe that have more history in it, but you don't shortchange the process of learning, nor do you uh, really allow yourself to get ahead and predict the future. We have a huge practice today, followed by a couple of huge practices against Tampa before the first preseason game. So my mindset is really just to coach guys and see what they do with it. And when the opportunities start to minimize, after people have earned the right in front of their teammates, you know, that who gets to play and who doesn't, then I'll kind of settle in on that. But right now, I'm very, very happy with that room. one of my favorite rooms that I've been around. And they are making the competition is fierce, but they're bringing the best out of each other. They get along, and they're really just watch. If your eyes can go fast enough, if there's a good run, take your eyes, find Eric, the running back coach, Suesville, then find the running backs. They're all like fist pumping, cheering. It's awesome. You know, that they really root for each other, understanding that they want to win the job. They don't want to be given it at the expense of somebody else.
Like, obviously, you wouldn't have picked him in the 4th round if you didn't think that he was going to be good. But did you expect Eric Ezukanma to catch on so quickly?
You know, that's kind of why I try not to get ahead of myself, because he came in. I've been very happy with him the entire time. He's made more plays now that he knows what he's doing. I've been more concerned with, like, how is he approaching the process? Is he making the same mistake twice? So he's kind of, it doesn't surprise me, and it's going to be a curve like that for him, where it will continue to get better and better. There's a lot of things he still needs to work on, but you could tell from the minute that you started working with him, this guy was a driven dude. He takes it very serious, and the best football is in front of him, because when he plays fast and knows what he's doing, you're starting to see some of the stuff that he does. He's a big, strong dude that can make plays on the ball. And, you know, his college tape, one of the things that we loved about him was he was very, very hard to tackle. Those things you're starting to see a little bit more of, because it's the natural process. It's a new language, and they're, learning something incredibly different. Half their world, they have to align on a field that the dimensions are new to them. So you're saying 2 yards inside the numbers, and they're like, what? Where is they're walking around? Like, so he just needs to continue to work, and I think you'll continue to see him make some plays. And then all of his teammates are encouraging him and pushing him so that he can be relied upon on a down and down out basis, with all that goes on with that position. That isn't just running routes; it's also blocking.
Mike, have you decided just how you plan to approach joint practices for some of the veteran guys who've kind of been on the maintenance program? Is your approach rather to have them kind of increase their workload for the 2 sets of joint practices and then kind of not participate in preseason practices, or do you just want to kind of keep them on this path that they've been on?
No, so the answer is kind of annoying, but it's honest. It is quite literally a case by case, and the way there are a couple veterans that. For them to be able to practice with the known intensity that comes with practicing against an opponent for the first time, the first time in 2022, or since January, really. There's some guys that we kind of have to monitor, and we're resting on the front end of it. Then there's other guys that will just have to get, for us to get through the whole practice, for them to get the work they need, they may sit out individual. From a pain state, like, I put a lot of pressure on the position coaches, the coordinators, the training staff, that I do not want just a flat line. This is what we do. I don't think that's fair to the individual. Every person's body is different. We have to monitor the load. And what we don't want to do is have a situation where we don't have a player because of our lack of detail or to that individual. So I very much cater to it, and it's very case by case. But there are a couple veterans that will need to chill out today so that we can get the reps against a different offense, a different defense, different pass plays, run plays, coverages, fronts than we've seen in our camp.
Have you had a chance to get with Coach Hales yet about anything that you each specifically like to do in joint practices, especially if there's anything that's not extremely common?
Yeah, I haven't got in with him in person. He's got this. Apparently, he has to coach his team, but we've communicated, and that's something that you hit on. Something that's it's interesting that you'd only know, like as a coach, where it's not something you don't just go into these things like off a whim. The coordinators are communicating. You're going through practice structures. You're going through players with, non-contact jerseys. You're really talking through everything. So, have a very, very good comfort level. I talked to him. This was months ago, because I'm so on it with planning. This was months ago we talked, and originally, and we've been in constant communication ever since, and we'll talk a couple more times before practice starts so that we're all on the same page and abiding by the same rules on the practice field.
Mike, I wanted to ask you about Tyreek. We know what he brings to the field from an athletic and a player standpoint, but listening to him speak yesterday, he's so confident. Have you ever worked with a player like that before? And I guess what benefit is that from a locker room standpoint?
I've never, him particular, his personality, he's one of one. And, I think it speaks to how he plays the game. He's a shorter player that doesn't play small, and that is his edge. I've had players that have been similar in that manner, just not to that level. But the thing that people really don't realize that is so cool about him is he's also very, very accountable. He's one of the first people that I can show in team meetings and say, hey, this isn't to our standard or this isn't right. Because 10 times out of 10, ever since we started with him here, when I do that, the next day in the team meeting, I get to show him correcting the mistake. And it kind of sets the tone that, you're conditioned as an athlete to want to be, everybody wants to be good at something, but you're conditioned that a coaching point, dang it, he had to correct me. And that's not the case. The coaching point is hey, the player and the coach getting together to communicate something to make you better. He really, from the beginning, helped me set that tone with the players because I could say, hey, this isn't good enough, this is awesome. And either way, I have their best interest at heart when I'm trying to communicate something. So he does that with his assignments, and he does it with he's the guy that I can be hard on his route depth, and he's the guy I can be hard on blocking. And every single time he puts it on tape that he not only heard the coaching point, but it was important enough to him to fix it immediately, which is an example that is huge for all players, young and veterans alike.
Mike, a quick housekeeping question. We've seen the past couple of days, guys like Cedric Redwine, Clayton Fetchman, even Thomas Morstead out for undisclosed injuries. Do you have any update on any of those guys and whether there's any long-term concern with any of them?
We're fortunate enough right now that every bump and bruise and slight issue is not long-term. That is something that doesn't always happen, but right now we feel very fortuitous in that regard. And I couldn't be happier with the training staff and really the commitment by every player right now that does have a ding, that they are working through it with the utmost urgency, and I'm not concerned about really anybody long term right now, which is something we hope to keep to continue moving forward.
Coach, I got a kick out of listening to Tyreek and Tua both talk about how when they came to this organization, the first time they saw Dan Marino, they kind of stopped in their tracks. I think Tua even said he couldn't believe it that Dan Marino knew his name, which is just funny. I'm just kind of curious, for you, kind of post ball boy career, have you had that moment, like,
Yeah.
and with whom, and did you try
I mean,
to
Dan Marino. Same thing happened to me. It's something I've witnessed from afar, but it's so I was kind of prepared, but you're never prepared for it. But as a head coach, people randomly come across your path a little bit more. So it is, which is an extremely humbling experience, and emotionally very confusing because like Dan Marino, you know, I was born in '83, so I grew up, and I really liked him, really respected his game. You know, his sack record blows my mind, but he was also passing for 5,000 when that would be like today 6,000. But him in particular, I was a Bronco fan, so my whole childhood I was saying Elway was better than Dan Marino. Now magically I've reversed course. But it comes, it's part of the territory, and you just do your best to try to live up to their expectations and not fumble words out of your mouth, and be coherent.
Coach, with Chase Edmonds, it seems like every practice he gets a little bit better, and we get a chance to talk to him, and it's really apparent that his cerebral approach to the game is pretty strong. I was curious just to get your take on how he's kind of come in here and your thoughts about how he approaches the game.
That's a good one. He's, I think the team realizes it because of the way that we go through film together, but this is the scheme that we run is a little different than he was used to, which we knew going into because we were evaluating him and we kind of projected it. What's been really, really awesome to see his feel for the game. His cerebral approach is real. Sometimes guys, that a cerebral approach means they just know all the assignments, which is uniquely he does. He knows every receiver assignment and he's understanding the blocking schemes and all that. But more so, he has a combination of feel to apply abstract coaching points. We want him to press the line of scrimmage, and he's working on it daily. He's diligent with his tracks. He's really getting a feel for the protection. So it's been cool to watch him really to digest and start to get, you can see it on the field. His productivity is obvious. He's doing a great job and really getting a feel and coming to his own for the position.
Thanks, guys.
All right.